G'day YouTube. Look, today I'd like to talk a bit about the Kelly branded WAX003 splitting maul, or as we call them in Australia, a blockbuster. The Kelly WAX003, made in Britain by Wilkinson Sword, but stamped as a Kelly axe, a bit like Kelly WAX001, which is, I've talked about the Kelly WAX001 and the 002 before. These are essentially very closely related to the Kelly Dandenong, a close cousin of the Kelly Dandenong. Great looking axe, nice stamp, very popular with collectors. You had the 001, only painted red where it's stamped Kelly, the rest was unpainted. Then WAX002, painted red all over, and very similar axe. Very, very similar axe to the WAX001's, minor differences. And they made the 003 splitting maul. This is about 5¼ pound head, similar weight to a heavy chopping axe, a Tassie, a really heavy Tassie. It's a fantastic maul, and I thought it'd be just interesting to talk about it and also to demonstrate it in use. So I'm going to talk a bit about it, and then I'm going to show it splitting some seasoned, tough, good old Aussie hardwood eucalyptus, and just demonstrate how it works, because I'm a pretty big advocate for this maul. Certainly for splitting Australian wood, which I think this was made essentially for the Australian market exclusively, maybe New Zealand as well. Similarly with these, made for the Australian market. And I think these are still a very relevant tool to use today. Yeah, I really, over the past year or so, I've been using this splitter a lot and I've come to love it. So I'd like to just talk about why and what I think about it. Originally, the WAX003 maul came on a 32-inch hickory handle. This is the original handle on this one. You can see 32-inch compared to the 36-inch on the Oxenkopf Big Ox, branded by Steel, but that's the Big Ox splitter. 32-inch handle versus 36, and see the way this hickory handle tapers to quite a slim dimension under the head there, so very ergonomic and enjoyable to use, but certainly a little bit fragile here for a splitter, I'd say. Wouldn't take much to damage that, but yes. I don't use this particular one because of the original handle in perfect condition. I keep it as a reference and as a collector's sort of piece. I have another one that I use as my user, which I've fitted with a similar length handle so that I kept it basically with the original specs. But yeah, 32-inch handle, tapering, very, very enjoyable to use, very ergonomic to use with the 5¼ pound head. You can swing it for hours and you don't really fatigue much at all. And yes, it's a fantastic tool to use. Now, in terms of the splitting profile on this axe, you can see here it's a thick wedge. It's quite similar to the profile of something like a Cyclone Blockbuster or Maul. Which, before we had things like Fiskars fiberglass handled splitters used throughout Australia, when I was a kid, like growing up in the 80s and the 90s, the ubiquitous wood splitting tool was the Cyclone Blockbuster. Very similar to this, but I think probably right at the end of the bit, where the cutting edge itself on a Cyclone is a little bit more obtuse. This is a little bit more acute. It's a bit sharper. And these are made out of, obviously it has the hardened pole, which is excellent for wedge driving and everything, but the steel that they've chosen to use for this, at the cutting edge itself, the bit is fairly soft. So you can sharpen this by hand with a file and get it as sharp as you like. You can modify the edge angle quite easily because the steel's very hand sharpenable. And yeah, I find overall this is a very effective overall profile and design. It's excellent. It's excellent to use. So just one final thought on the Kelly WAX003 vintage splitting maul. I suppose you could say, well, what's the point talking about this today when it's no longer made? Maybe since the 70s they haven't made these. They'll never be made again. Is there much point talking about this when there are so many other splitters available nowadays down at the local hardware shop? What's the point? Well, I think the thing is, there's a few things I would say about that. One is, yeah, sure. If you want to just buy a splitter and split some wood, you can go and buy a relatively inexpensive, $30, $50, $60, $70 splitter, fiberglass handle down at Bunnings, and you can use it, and it's great. It's fine. You might break it at some point, possibly. You can't really repair it if you do. But, yeah, for a lot of people, that's probably quite a good solution. But I would say there's a few things to think about there. One is the quality of this tool is really high. If you put this on a hickory handle, spotted gum handle, and this is not the hardest tool to hang actually either. It's pretty straightforward. You've got a very high quality tool in this. The quality of manufacture and the way it's been worked out is fantastic. So probably, a cheap splitter that you buy from the hardware shop's not going to give you the same quality necessarily as this. Secondly, look how cool this thing is. Like, this is a cool axe. It looks fantastic, and it's got the Kelly brand on it. Who would not like to own and use this, really? It's a lot cooler than a fiberglass handle axe, let's be honest. But the other thing is, these will never be made again. There's only a certain number of them in existence. And, you might pick one of these up for $120 Australian or something like that. If you get it at a garage sale, you get it a lot cheaper. Maybe there are some online sites where you could pick one of these up for under $100. To me, if you can buy something like this for 100, even 120, 30, 100, even 150 if you get a nice one with some paint still on it and stuff, to me, it's actually pretty good value. It's pretty solid. You'll have it for life. Your kids will probably have it for their lifetime. This is going to last basically forever. It's a generational tool. It's like an heirloom tool. And if it breaks, you can just put a new handle on it. It's fine. And I think it's pretty solid value for what you're paying. If it was in the multiple hundreds of dollars, that would be another matter. But I think, these are really available mainly only in Australia, so I'm speaking here to Australian viewers. These aren't too bad a buy, I reckon, compared to you might pay over $100 for a Fiskars splitter down at Bunnings, or $70, $80. I think this is pretty good value.